Hi, my channel viewers. Welcome to SAC Starters with Gaurav. Today we are going to see that how can we use Docker to host a Postgres database and see how we can save the data from our Spring Boot application. Let's get started. So in my previous video, I have explained that how we can call the service class from the controller class and how we can use the JPA repository to um, implement or to use the methods like find by or get. Okay. Uh, Now we are going to see that how we can save the data into the database. Okay. We have mentioned helper repository dot save helper. So and wait, where is the database? We have not set up any DB till now, right? So where is data going? That's where we can use Docker. Okay. So one way is that we can set up a whole new instance of Postgres. We set up the server, we set up the DB, and we actually save data there. One more option is that we don't use actually, we don't use actual Postgres server. We simply use Docker and we use an image of Postgres to initiate or to um, establish a Postgres server, and we can use that. Okay, so let's see how we can do it. Okay, so let's see how we can install the Postgres instance on Docker. I'm assuming that you already have Docker installed on your machine. The first one that we have to run is pull the Postgres image on Docker, and the command is docker pull Postgres. Then we have to set up the database on Postgres. So for that, we have to run this command, which says docker run name. This is the name of the container in which we are going to run the Postgres database. Then we have to mention Postgres user, password, database name, then port, and the actual um, Postgres image. Okay. Once you run this command, the Postgres will set up on the Docker. Then we have to, then you can verify it by Docker PS. It will give you one container ID by which you can check that your Postgres is running on the Docker. Okay. If you want to run any command using the Docker on your database that you have created, in which case it's carnest helper, you can use this command docker exec it carnest, the database name, then the PSQL Postgres carnest helper. Okay, just keep in mind this is the container name and this is the database name, so don't get confused between these two terms. Okay. Okay, so now you have the Postgres running on your Docker container. But when you execute this line, helper repository dot save helper, how it will get to know that it has to pick up your Postgres running on the Docker that you have created. We have not made any connections yet. So let's see how we can connect to that database that's running on the Docker. Okay. For that, you have to open the application.properties file. In here, we have to give all the configuration, all the DB details that you want to use for your application. To start with, I'm not going to explain everything. I'm just going to explain the part that is linked to the Docker and the database. Here, we have to mention spring.datasource.url, and we have to mention here JDBC, Postgres. Now my Docker is running on my local. That's why I have mentioned here localhost. If you are running Docker on some other server, you have to mention here that server IP address or name. This is the port that we have configured in the Docker. Remember the same port, and this is the carnest helper. This is the database that we have to use. Okay, we are not going to mention anywhere here the container name. That's not relevant over here. Then we have to mention here Spring data source username, password, driver class, Okay, you simply use these as it is. This, whatever you have mentioned, your username and password, you can give that, and that's all. We'll be explaining all these things later on. Till now, by um, specifying these four properties, we are telling our Spring Boot application to pick up the Postgres from this URL and use this username password, this driver, and make a connection to the database. And that's all we have to do. Now, once we run this application, our database will be configured. It will read these properties from the application.properties file, and it will make a connection to the database. Okay.